midweek review starting on the DXY. So we can see that we have had this level here, price broke above. We can see we sold off quite impulsively. We had the little pullback here to the V shape and continued. Technically could class this as a near miss to the low, and we just pulled back. Now on a larger time frame, we can kind of see that this is creating this larger 1, 2, 3. Using the fib tool from the top to the bottom, we can see that we are well above that 50% fib range. So this technically is now becoming a little bit too large. So there wouldn't be any sort of risk entries in play here for me. But you can sort of see that we could potentially be getting some sort of ending structure here. So it would be nice to see how the DXY kind of reacts to this general area here, and whether we break above, and then if we get some sort of solid turnaround continuation, then obviously we'll be looking for the shorts with that larger 1, 2, 3. Would be quite nice actually if we do manage to kind of just break into this little hook point area, which was sitting outside of this volume here, which was the previous high that broke this high here. So it would be really, really nice if we did break above this structure into this hook point. We got the pushback below, and then we got then obviously we'd be looking for the longs on the dollar related players. So then moving on to euro dollar. Euro dollar with CPI today. Euro dollar has had a massive sell off. I'm not really interested in trading this until we're kind of at these lows, just potentially kind of the opposite of what the DXYs do. You can kind of see that you've got this sort of descending larger structure. It's going to flip the chart for a second. So if price does gravitate towards this area, so there's two key areas I'll be looking for. The first one would be here, which would be the override of the larger structure, where I'd be looking for a turnaround with a continuation. So this would be ideally like a tap or just a break above a solid sort of 4 hour or two strong sort of 1 hour candles back below, and then I'd be looking for ideally a 1 hour continuation filtered down onto the 15-minute, just because of the size of the structure, because this is as you can see here, a daily structure that we're playing. And then obviously the alternative, which is quite nicely here, which lines up with the DXY as well, is we do have the 1, 2, 3 with that 1, 2, 3 intersecting with this hook point. And again, this hook point was kind of sitting outside of this general descending structure, which was like a build-up of volume anyway. So it would be quite nice if price just sort of slowed down as it reached that area. We got that push down, then we'd be looking for the short there. Ideally, similar to the DXY, I'd be looking for a 1 hour flag filtered down onto the 15-minute for a potential risk entry within that flag. And there's plenty of room to the downside to complete that structure. And you can kind of see as well that you do have this sort of ending structure coming into it here, which kind of does give a little bit more weight to the potential override area. Again, wouldn't be looking for a risk entry, just because majority of this was CPI, so it would be a break and then a push down and continuation on the lower time frames. Aussie yen, just flipping back on the charts. So Aussie yen, we have an area that is where we are looks like potentially slowly gravitating towards now this high here, where we had some nice impulsive action. We have broken above this quite a few times now, and I'm just going to mark in this area here, so you can kind of see that we have now broke above this, and we've had this larger 3-tick structure, and we've kind of just been slowly creating these sort of scoops on the way up. So you can see here we had the first scoop and we've had this second scoop, but what's happened now is we've had a big sort of like push down due to CPI. It's kind of showing us there is a potential sentiment change. So you can mark on this high here, we've got the break, failed to form the continuation to move lower, and then what have we done here? We've just broke above, failed again, and now we've broken above, and now it's kind of like, for me, this would be like the last line in the sand where I'd be looking for on the 15-minute. You can see you've got this little hook point, again, not visible on the 1 hour, but I'd be looking for a sort of 1, 2, 3 sort of play into this. So if we get the push up, I'd be looking for like a 1, 2, 3 structure kind of into this hook point for a potential risk entry at that third touch. Wouldn't be worried about the 5 minute. Wouldn't be really worried about this because it's too far away, and again, it's not visible on the 15 minutes, so not too fussed about that. So I wouldn't be looking to protect anywhere out there. So I think a 15 pip stop here would do nicely, and it gives you roughly 2.5 or almost 2.5 to the low, so it's manageable for that low. And then down to that next inflection point, you're looking at 3.6, so easily manageable for there. So that will be one of the ones that is on watch right now. Let's mark on that high there. Moving on to CAD yen. So CAD yen, again, we do have this kind of like weekly hook point, a little bit more visible on the daily, but it is rather far away in terms of the current price action. We're talking almost like 500 pips. So with this one, what I would see here is I've marked on this high, and I can see that we have broken above, and then we've kind of failed to continue. We've failed to move to the downside on the longer term scale, and all that we've really done is we've hit this low here, rejected, and then moved higher. Now it kind of comes down to, is this a impulse, and then is this the correction to potentially move higher, or is this potentially forming reversal structure up here where we'd be looking for a not so much a risk entry just because of the middle section of this structure wouldn't be my favorite, and the fact that we're not really trading into any sort of significant area. But is it possible for a push down and continuation here, and then you can potentially be trading maybe like within there with a 20 pip stop, you'd be trading into potentially these lows. It's definitely there. In terms of the long, I don't see a long opportunity there at the moment. There potentially was one that Abdu was mentioning here that I think he took. I need to dig into that a little bit more because I missed that one. So it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve there. But yeah, if I was looking at this now, I would potentially be looking for that structure with a push down of flag on the 1 hour, again filtered to the 15 minute because it's a larger 4 hour structure, to play that into these lows, and potentially if we break, and then obviously looking for continuation back down to these lows. But yeah, not my favorite, but potential. And then on to dollar CAD. Dollar CAD was looking really nice at the start of the week. Still looking promising. We had this kind of like key area here that, as you can see here, we near missed it like multiple times, and then at the start of the week we kind of we broke above, but we kind of failed to form any sort of continuation, or failed to commit to the move essentially. But then what you can see has happened here is we've just got this structure that's come into play with this 1, 2, 3. You can see that it's got this middle section to it, which is decent, and it's an impulsive last leg, which isn't always necessarily a bad thing. We are trading well above these key areas. There is this tiny little area here, which I'm not too worried about. Not focusing too much on it. So if I was to look for a position here, there is one thing I just want to look at. So if I mark on that, personally, I'd want to be looking for a sort of 1 hour continuation below the override of the structure, just as extra confirmation, because this isn't like it's quite a steep structure. So I'd be looking for that 1 hour continuation below that override filtered onto the 15 minute, which would give you a very healthy stop, very nice stop protection. And then obviously down to these sort of areas, you're looking at 7% down to the low with 90% using the 90% management to that low, you're looking at getting out with just over 11%. So it's a solid position. Probably one of my favorite ones so far. So I'll mark that on. Dollar Swiss, similar to dollar CAD in a sense. Was looking for the long at the start of the week. We didn't get it. Price has now broken above this first high area, and we do have this high that is sitting just above. We are still, 100 pips away, so it's not like it's very super close, but similar style to dollar CAD. You can see that you've got this expanding structure that's tapped into this value of area now, and we know this, we can see it's the value area because this is where we sold off from last time, because we had the little V shape, push down, flag, and then obviously this was the start of the catalyst of the move to the downside. So I will be looking at this tonight / tomorrow for price to. I'm not too fussed about it breaking below the override on this one, because we have the key value area with the ray line. So if we get a push down and we get a flag continuation, ideally retesting the back end of that. That's absolutely be lovely. I'd be looking for a 15-minute potential play, maybe about a 12 to 13 pip stop on this one, and down to the lows you're looking at 8.5%. So easily manageable. I like that position, very nice. Pound yen, going back to the daily. Pound yen is just, you can see it's just kind of failed to commit from this larger expanding structure here, and now we're just kind of squeezing up to this super high value area where we very aggressively sold off last time. So in terms of looking at this at the moment, it's not going to be my favorite, but let's see if we can see anything on the lower time frames. So we can see that we've had this 1, 2, 3 structure, broke above, failed to commit to the downside with the continuation, and then we've kind of gone and can kind of see that it's a bit forced either way you draw it, really. The only real way you'd be able to trade, I'd be looking to trade this, is you've got this high here that we know that we broke above, and you've got like the mini scooping double top, and you'd kind of just be playing the yens at this part, because they all seem to be doing roughly similar things with these sell-offs because of CPI. So whether or not you'd be looking to get in something like that, I guess you could, but I feel like there are other yen pairs that are better. I think Aussie yen, Aussie yen, sorry, is looking better than pound yen currently, just because of the highs that it has broken and the fact that it is trading below both of these highs now, whereas pound yen is kind of not so much near missed, but it still could gravitate back towards those highs. Kiwi yen is probably the favorite yen pair. Again, we do have that high value area that we're sitting above, that we're sitting very, very close to now. We near missed it by about 60 pips, so we are currently about 200 pips out, 260 pips out, so it's still quite far. We've got the impulse, we've got this logic structure now. You can kind of see this as an expanding type structure, but we haven't hit that third touch, so but we know we don't have to. We've got the override, and the override is in. We've impulsively signed off. We're trading well below this low. We're trading below this high. So this one is a kind of a no-brainer to me. I dropped to the 5 on this one. You can kind of see that you've got this little value area, and it's not much, but if we just so happen to correct a little bit, and we come up, and then we get something like that, then of course I'll be looking to take that position like that with a 1, 2, 3, tapping into this little value area with a 15 pip stop. Well, you could probably go a little bit tighter actually, maybe about 12, and it gives you 2.5 to the low. And I think sequentially it just makes sense with the overall structure. It's quite nice. And then you'd be looking to trade into these and then ultimately down to the lows here for, roughly about 12%. But obviously with a 90% management tool, you'd be looking at maybe about 10%. So that is a nice one. I do like that. Aussie Kiwi. So I had Aussie Kiwi on at the start of the week because we were sitting at this high. We were sitting at this high, but as you can see, it's Aussie Kiwi. It's just been squeezing all the way up. But now we've broken out again due to CPI. But it does look like it's just getting a little bit messy. You can see these wicks within the structure. It's just not my favorite at the moment. It's just doing typical Aussie Kiwi things. Yeah, you go down to the 15-minute and it's just not my favorite type of structure. You don't really tend to see the starter structures that form like this. I guess if you were going to look for anything, you could potentially look for like a larger structure that comes out like this. But again, I think we've just got other pairs that are better on watch, so it's not my favorite at the moment. Dollar yen. Dollar yen has broken out now. So if I go to the weekly, so we had this high all the way over here that we had broken multiple times. We were sitting above for a while. The next one is still quite far away. So this is kind of like a very, very nice value area because we can see this is where we aggressively sold off like with big momentum here, and we sold off quite aggressively here as well. But now we've broken above with a strong daily candle. Obviously the daily hasn't closed yet, and we can see here that the momentum on the 4 hour. So I would potentially be looking to long this, but not yet. I would rather wait for this to kind of find its footing, and to give you that sort of like you want to be seeing 3 bottoms on this, something like this at the minimum, to look for either a risk entry or like a flag within the structure, because obviously you'd be able to get down to the 15-minute, maybe to the 5. But again, if you're looking for the short, what would be really nice is if price did form this structure, failed to move higher from this part, and you got the push down, and then you got the flag here, then I would look for the short, because we know that if it was going to go long, it would have gone long off this structure, off this type of price action. But if it fails to commit to the upside, if it formed its price action like this and then formed a flag below, it's kind of a sign from the market that it's not moving higher, and we're actually retracing back. And I'm probably going to be trading back below these lows, or at least retesting them to potentially move higher. So that's what I'll be looking for on dollar yen, but again, it's not ready yet. Pound dollar, quite similar to euro dollar. I was looking for the shorts earlier in the week because we'd had this near missed this and this near missed this. So obviously we're looking for price to gravitate and break these lows. And that is exactly what we've done. I was looking to see if I could get short in a position on this, but with CPI coming up, it just made sense not to be trading. So similar to euro dollar, I will be looking for longs on pound dollar, but it will be kind of like a break of the low, break back up. You can technically see that you have got the descending channel. So if we just flip you can see that we have this. Again, not the greatest structure. The positioning of the touches isn't the best, so it's not equal positioning. So for me, this would be a clear looking for the break above, break back in, continuation, and then obviously be looking to play down to there. We should use the 90% management tool, and that would be a lovely position to look for. So that is one that I will be looking at tomorrow, potentially into Friday, because this is a 4 hour, so this might just trickle around for a little bit. Swiss yen. I did like Swiss yen at the start of the week. We had this high over here, the price just trickled, and then we did break below. Failed to commit to this any sort of structure to the downside. Broke back up, tapped into this little hook point sort of value area, sold off again, and then I was looking for on the 1 hour, you had this 1, 2, 3 here, but we also had the internal here with a bit of a subjective first touch. We had this 1, 2, 3 here, so I was just looking to see if we could get a push down and a flag. Sequence wise of this now, not the best, because we have this here. So I mean, this isolated on its own is looking quite nice. You could say that you've got this, but I think with this price action before it, it's just not typical price action, and you could argue, that it is trading below it. But I think you just run the risk of this being evolving into something, much more complex, especially like you could see it as this sort of descending structure, and the next thing you know, you've gotten short in here, and it's just broke back to the upside. So it's just not something that I want to be risking my capital on at the moment. And last but not least, pound CAD. Pound CAD was looking very nice. Still actually is quite nice. That is a decent daily close if we get that daily close. I was looking for price to, because obviously we were sitting around this area, and I had these value areas in, and we had the highest value area of recent time. That price had kind of just tapped above, formed a larger continuation, and then sold off, and then we just created this larger V shape, and now we broke above, but obviously with the news we are now trading back below. Again, doesn't look like the greatest price action on the 1 hour. Yeah, I'm just gonna move that now because we don't need it. I just want to use the fib tool from 50. So it is borderline 50%. So you could put that on just like your sort of foot point, and you'd be looking for like a 1, 2, 3 into that area. So it's not, wouldn't be the worst trade in the world because the positioning is good on the higher time frame. Sequence isn't the greatest. Then again, you do have this like mini scooping double top that was the catalyst to the sell-off. So I just want to check. Yeah, I think this one could be a nice position tomorrow if we form a solid 1, 2, 3 with a decent middle section. But yeah, overall, going back to my favorites, dollar CAD looking for a short, ideally below the override. Dollar Swiss below the value area. Kiwi dollar looking for that 1, 2, 3 into the little hook point. Pound dollar looking for the break below, push up and flag. Oh, and of course, euro dollar looking for the break below, push above. Those will be the kind of main 5 that I'll be filtering out tomorrow. I will double check in the morning to see if any of them are closer. If they're not, then obviously they won't make the watch list. But that's it. Thank you.